Right, our garage, let's see what we're rolling out today. Looks like we've nabbed ourselves an Audi TT coupe. And Audi told me they were sending me a TT. I figured it might be the base vehicle with the 2-liter, 220 horsepower. It starts around $43,000. That's what they usually have in the fleet. Or I might get lucky, get the TTS with 288 horsepower. That starts around $53,000. They usually have a few of those. What a surprise! When I took delivery, I found out they sent me the top-of-the-line TTRS. Well, it's only a 2.5-liter inline 5-cylinder. It's also cranking out a whopping 400 horsepower. Claims 0 to 60 time with 3.6 seconds. Last time I checked, the other engines were limited to 155 miles per hour due to a limiter. I'm told this doesn't have one, so you can cruise up to your top speed of 174 miles per hour, they say. This is really one of the nicest looking vehicles on the road, regardless of color. I have mixed emotions about this shade. I prefer red or yellow so people can see me when you're driving a dinky car like this. But either way, the vehicle did get lots of good compliments on the street and the local car show. And they shipped it all the way from Michigan just for us. As you might expect, the price tag on this machine isn't cheap. Here's the base price of an RS, but of course when you go down the dealer, you're never going to find it this cheap, as you never do with these exotic German machines. In fact, if we scroll down, there's around $15,000 worth of added options. I'll just let you read it on the screen. Whoa. 80 grand. Forking up 6 grand for these ceramic brakes seems like a high tab, but after driving this for a while, trust me, they're worth it. Another $1,700 for these fancy wheels and tires. We'll talk about that a little bit later. They do look good though. As we do in all of my videos, one of the first projects we have is to take headlights out in the dark and see how they perform. Let's see how these German LEDs do. It's dark enough. I'll take these headlights out, see what they do. Look pretty bright to me. I see we have some additional lights here. Every time you open the door, it says Audi Sport, so everybody in the parking lot will know what you're driving. All the birds flying over as well. Neato. Here we have the headlights on a building 100 feet away. Very, very bright, but riding very, very low. Go to high beam. Pretty healthy beam there. Here we have the brights on the building 300 feet away. Good height, good spread. Light up the countryside. Go low beam. Bright enough. Goes around 225 feet. More than adequate for city driving. Overall, I'd say pretty good lights. No complaints. Jumping into a German car's interior and trying to figure out the wacky controls is always an interesting experience, so let's hop in and give it a look. The first thing I was looking for when I got in here, because it was freezing that morning, were the climate controls so I could turn on the heat. And here they are. Very simple. They're on the air vents. On and off, temperature, vent control. 3 simple knobs. It doesn't get any better than this. You can turn on and off by twisting this. Very ingenious and usually simple for a German design. The only drawback, these do not tilt. You can't move all 3 to one side or the other, but I really don't care. This is such a nice design. I'm satisfied. You might have noticed the lack of a navigation or other type of pop-up screen, just a solid dash. That's because everything is seen over here on the gauge cluster, especially on the right. By using these simple controls underneath the shifter, just press menu, you got vehicle, sound, radio, media, telephone, navigation. Take your pick. Press map and your navigation pops up left of the speedometer and tachometer. Not the biggest I've ever seen, but how big do you need it? And yes, if you press the right button, you can make it larger. On the steering wheel, you have the drive select button. You can choose comfort, auto, dynamic, or individual modes. You've got a button here to control the exhaust sound. Let's go with Sport. As in Alfa Romeos, the start button's on the steering wheel. As a rule, I'm not impressed with German car interiors, especially with the complicated controls, but here, not an issue. Audi did a great job, at least for the most part. Unfortunately, there are a few minor complaints I had. Let's look at those. First of all, it's nice to have a set of rear seats, but I think this was done for insurance purposes only because you're not going to fit too many real people back here. And getting it out's a real pain because the front seats are totally electric. You have to wait for the seats to move up slowly, the seat backs to move down slowly. You're not going in and out in a hurry. If you have a mother-in-law you don't like, just stick her back there and then tell her the power seat and battery died and leave her in there for a couple of days. She won't bother you anymore. Secondly, the lack of storage is just appalling. You get a dinky little compartment here. A glove box that's almost useless unless you take the owner's manual out, which I did, but even then it's still too small. There's a console between the seats, but you can't put anything in here because of this cup holder, which I don't think it's removable. Not unless you get a hammer, but then you can't put it back in. Audi would get a bit upset with me. Just have to leave it the way it is. If you have anything to store, it's going to have to go in the back storage / trunk area. Not much room back here either, especially since I have to put in my big tire repair kit, since we don't get a spare tire. But my biggest gripe, and you've heard this on videos I've done before, especially on a lot of German cars, the infamous dirt shelf. Bodywork under the door, it's collecting all kinds of nasty stuff. We've had a lot of rain, snow, and ice on the roads lately. It's all been collecting on here. And with these super wide bodywork rocker panels, you step outside, all this is getting on your pants, which is why I'm wearing my camo jammies today. If you live where there's a lot of snow and mud, you better keep some paper towels handy. You're going to need them. But in all fairness, this is a sports car. Things like storage capacity, spare tire, or getting your pants dirty, you don't care about stuff like that. You care about driving, and that's what we're going to do for the rest of this video. Once you get on the road, you have a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. You can put it in automatic mode, or you can shift manually with the knob, or you can shift manually with the paddle shifters on the steering wheel, which is a good place to put them because they're always within reach, even in corners. Unlike the goofy Italians who keep putting them on the steering column where they can't be reached in corners, only a straight line. This is where they belong, and they're very enjoyable to use. Since we're looking at the steering wheel, I can tell you the steering, which is electric, doesn't have much feel, as you expect on most German cars. It's very quick and responsive. That's what counts. So I don't think there are going to be too many complaints. Just a note on these tires and wheels. The low-profile tires are a fad nowadays. They look cool, but you have two problems. Number one, you get a very stiff, noisy ride. And number two, they're very susceptible to damage. If you hit a pothole at high speeds, you will destroy this wheel. So you have to drive very carefully if you're in the city with bad roads. If you watch my videos, we often take our vehicles over speed bumps around 25 to 30 miles per hour to evaluate the impact performance on suspension components. Looking at these fragile aluminum Audi wheels, I think we're going to keep the speed around 15 miles per hour or below. And we'll have it in the comfort mode. Just cheating a bit. Bump number one. Ooh. Glad we're doing 15 instead of 30. Number two. Number three. And the big nasty one coming up. These short wheelbase cars. When you have tires rated over 180 miles per hour and fancy aluminum wheels that look like this, I'm told at the dealer that there's something like $2,000 to replace for both. Drive carefully. By the way, the Audi specs require 42 pounds of air in the front tires and 35 in the rear tires. If you're driving one of these, make sure that's what you're doing. I am. Will keep the car on the road a lot better. Later in the video, we're going to be doing a lot of tight mountain road driving, but we'll take this on the turning circle first and see if this all-wheel drive system with these crazy tire pressures can stick to the road on these cobblestone bricks. Whoa, I think there's no doubt about that. Very impressive. Audi says this engine can pull 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds if you use the launch control system. Let's see how that works. First, let's put it in dynamic mode. Turn off the traction control. Click the shifter into sport mode. Verify it on the dash. I didn't bring my stopwatch, but if you have one at home, you can time it yourself. Pretty quick, I think. The fuel economy of the base 2-liter 220 horsepower vehicle is rated 23 to 30 mpg. This powerful 400 horsepower 5-cylinder only drops to 19 to 29 mpg. We'll be racking up a lot of miles to see if this is accurate or not. Lots of miles. So don't go away. We're going to take an expressway trip, see what the fuel economy reading is. I can't believe how simple it is to operate the controls on this Audi. Usually on a German car, the controls are a nightmare. You have to read the manual for days at a time. Not a problem here. The climate control, navigation, everything. Simple push button. I haven't had to read the manual at all. I think I'm going to like this car. Here you go, 31 miles, 29.3 mpg, 64 miles per hour. Pretty good for a 400 horsepower engine. By the way, that compares to the little 220 horsepower 4-cylinder rated at 30 mpg on the highway. Not much difference, at least on the highway driving. We'll be doing some more fuel economy testing starting tomorrow, so don't go away. We're going to set the gas mileage computer to 0 and take a little road trip. So fasten your seatbelt and hang on. This vehicle had 397 miles on the computer before I got it from other test drivers. Mostly city driving, it appears. There's your miles per gallon, 20.1. Not bad. I set the computer in comfort mode, but even so, there's a lot of rumbling and bouncing around coming from those low-profile tires. It's kind of annoying, but you'll just have to get used to it, I guess. This is a sports car, after all. We're getting into town. I'm going to pull over and see what our fuel economy was. For what it's worth, I was getting high 20s, but I passed all those Winnebagos and other slowpokes. Dropped down to 25.4 mpg. Not bad. For the rest of this video, we're not going to worry about fuel economy. We're going to concentrate on driving and performance and keeping it under that 174 mile per hour top speed. Ah, come on, you know I wouldn't drive that fast. I'm the safest driver on the planet. If you watch my videos, you know who we're going to be visiting here. Freddy the Toad, where are you? There he is, up on the hill. Big sucker, isn't he? Thought I'd stop and say hello. Time to move on. We're going to put this in dynamic mode for the rest of the trip. I say we're doing dynamic. This is where the Audi really shines, taking corners on tight mountain roads. Even going uphill, there's plenty of power. Some individuals have been complaining because this vehicle is not offered with a manual transmission. You're not going to miss it. In the sport mode, this automatic 7-speed will outrun any manual transmission. No issue. The computer's smarter than you. That's just the way it is. Always knows the right gear at the right time. And for those who missed the 6-cylinder, I don't. This Turbo 5 is really awesome. Outperforms the old 6 pretty much in every way. This thing really hugs the road. Can't complain about the power either. This turbo kicks in early. And these brakes work perfect. Now that we're going downhill, it's even more important to have nice brakes. I don't think we're ever going to heat these discs up, though. Bouncy ride. Oh! Well, we talked about that earlier. Very bouncy ride, but it sticks to the road, right? So who cares? Well, I was going to go visit a friend at his expensive exotic ranch, but seeing what the roads look like after the rain, I don't think we're going to take the Audi on this. Even if it does have four-wheel drive. Nope. We have a long ways to go before this little drive is over, but I thought I'd pull over and give the car a rest. In fact, I need a rest because going over these corners, left, right, left, been giving my arms a good workout. This is a very fun car to drive, but it takes work. So let's see. 83 very hard miles, taking those tight corners at a high 54 miles per hour. 19.2 mpg. I'd say that's pretty good in my book. I can't believe how sticky these tire treads are. They're picking up gravel like a magnet and slinging it all over the bottom of the car. I feel like I'm being blasted with shotgun buckshot. I don't know if you can hear it on the microphone, but I certainly do. This Chrysler Pacifica just passed me. He's doing at least 110. I didn't know a Chrysler product could go that fast unless it was a Hellcat. Oh well, you never know. Even though this Audi has a very rough ride and extremely noisy on rough roads, I'm enjoying driving it so much, I really don't care. You get used to it. In fact, I'm enjoying it so much, I think I'll tack on another 100 miles. This is known as Dead Man's Road. No guardrails, canyons off on the side, you screw up, you go over the side. I'll never find your body or the vehicle. But I'm not worried because this vehicle is sticking to the road like glue. I don't think we're going to go over the edge. However, in a car like this, you have to pay attention to what you're doing. Very quick steering. Take your eyes off the road and screw up and be in a bad situation. If you're one of those dweebs who likes to text and drive, don't do it in this car. Especially on a road like this. Just saying. Well, looks like they got a roadblock. They're waiting for me. I guess I better give myself up. Uh-oh. That Mustang passed me doing way over 100 about 5 miles back. Glad he was in front of me. They're too busy with him to worry about me. Today's trip is over. Here are the stats. 215 miles, very brisk miles I might add. 21 MPG. I'd say that's pretty good. And in spite of 3 hours and 40 minutes in the saddle and the very stiff ride from these low-profile tires, I'm still pretty refreshed. I think I could do another 200 miles, but not today. That's enough for right now. But more video coming up later. Don't go away. The secret to safe driving is keeping your eyes on the road. You don't want to be looking at scenery like this. It's not safe. You might have an accident. So keep your eyes on the road like I do. Sort of. I've been driving downhill for quite a distance. I was expecting these brakes to heat up, but they're ceramic. I guess they're never going to heat up. Keep stopping the vehicle perfect every time. Worth the extra price, I suppose. Did I mention how nice this vehicle handles in corners? I think I did. I'll say it again. We're coming towards the end of our trip. We'll pull over and see what the fuel economy is, if you really care. Well, it's happy hour, about time for another accident. Yep. There you go. I see we're running into snow. That's where the Audi all-wheel drive comes in handy. So you don't skid off the road. And we don't want to do that on an $80,000 car. And now I see we're running into ice. Lucky me. So after a week of driving, what's my take on the Audi TT RS? Well, not only is this one of the smoothest and quietest engines out there, the fact that they could get 400 horsepower out of 2.5 liters is an amazing feat. Very, very impressed. Great fuel economy too. Your German engineering at work. And while I didn't care for the lack of storage space, all of these controls are very simple and efficient. Easy to learn. Didn't need to look at the owner's manual once. Very unusual for a German car. Very impressed here too. And as far as the $80,000 price tag, look, when you're buying a vehicle in this price bracket, you're not just buying transportation, you're buying entertainment and style. And we certainly have that here. When I'm driving around a BMW or Porsche, very few people notice. You drive this, people notice. And that's what it's all about. And don't forget, if you don't have 80 grand laying around, there are the less expensive 4-cylinder versions of this car, starting around 43 grand. With the slowest vehicle doing 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds. Nothing to scoff at. Overall, the RS is one sweet sports machine. If you have the money, you will not be disappointed. Here's some links to other expensive vehicles we've driven. Just click on the link and watch.